Aloha. Good afternoon, good evening, beautiful women. Happy Wednesday. So I'm trying out some new equipment today since my phone just doesn't want to cooperate with the last few lives. I am using some different equipment, and I've never done a live through this before. So I'm waiting until I can get some people in here to let me know that you can hear me and see me okay. So once you're in here, let me know if I sound okay. Give me a wave or an emoji in the comments, and we'll get started shortly. Oh, awesome, Emily. Thank you so much for letting me know. Okay. So welcome to today's live, this week's Wisdom Wednesday. So I've been in my own personal, professional world getting a little bit more organized and working on the verbiage behind my business. And I wrote a little bit down that I want to reach you guys. And so I just want to start off by giving a big warm welcome to all of the new members in here. I know this group has been growing steadily over the last month, so I just want to say welcome into this space and thank you so much for being in here with me. And aloha, I'm Angel. I am a leading transformational healer, a womb priestess, and I like to refer to myself as an Ayurveda ascension queen because I'm very passionate about Ayurveda, and I'm also an ascension guide. So I help awakening women to release societal conditioning, heal trauma, reclaim their magic, and own their power so that they can liberate themselves from suffering, embody their full potential, and live the life they truly desire. And I want to share with you the 4 pillars of the work that I do with women. There's 4 main pillars that we cover together no matter what container it is, and I wanted to share them with you here. So pillar number 1 is Ayurveda. That's a really big part of my life, my passion, my soul mission. And so when we're going into Ayurveda, we're learning the language of the body, how to correct imbalances naturally, as well as detoxify and nourish yourself on all levels. Pillar number 2 is conscious menstrual work. So this entails healing your womb. And when I say womb, I mean the entire space. That includes your ovaries and your fallopian tubes and the whole sacred chalice that is your womb. So it's healing your womb, learning the inner workings of your menstrual cycle to balance your life, heal trauma, and deepen your spiritual connection. Conscious menstrual work is one of the main pieces that I have personally used in my life to transform myself and heal deeply. And so it's another piece that I'm really passionate about teaching and supporting women in embodying themselves. Pillar number 3 is sacred sexuality. And in this, we work with the sacredness of your sexual energy to free your spirit, unlock your creative potential, and reclaim your empowered feminine energy. Last pillar, pillar number 4, is spiritual hygiene practices. And in spiritual hygiene practices, this is cultivating a solid practice of devotion to your highest timeline and happiest, healthiest, most successful version of yourself by learning tools and techniques to keep your instruments of consciousness, i.e., your mind and your body. They're both instruments that your consciousness and your soul uses to experience this form, this world of form. So learning tools and techniques to keep your instruments of consciousness and your frequency tuned and in alignment every day, ensuring that you are always dialed in to the most synchronistic and best case scenarios possible in all situations, all places, with all people. And so those are the four main pillars. There's a tremendous amount of wisdom, downloads, information, tools, practices, knowledge that go under each one of those pillars, but those are basically the main ones that I personally focus on when supporting women to transform themselves and their lives. So thank you for allowing me to share that. I'm going to leave a link in the comments below if any of you feel inspired to jump on a call with me and find out more about receiving private mentorship. But anyway, so now that we have that out of the way, let's go on to today's topic. So I titled today's live, Do You Crave Balance, or Are You Craving Balance? And I just want to share a little bit of my story with you guys. I have books and books that I could write about my very interesting life. I'm just going to share a little bit, just a little piece that pertains to craving balance. I think it was about 11 years ago. I was living in Indianapolis and I was bartending at a hotel. I was serving tables at a fancy seafood restaurant. I was working behind the juice and deli bar at or the juice bar and the deli at a local health food store. And I was putting myself through college. And I lived in an apartment by myself. And I'm not going to go into the details of it, but there was a bunch of drama that happened in my family. So in that time period, I wasn't really in communication with much of my family. So I was very much alone on my journey. And I remember I would come home from work and just be like so exhausted. I'd get home probably like past midnight from bartending and being on my feet all day long, working like 15 hours a day. And I would come home and I would just put my feet up the wall because I learned how to do that when I went through yoga teacher training. And I remember that I would wake up every morning and literally hobble around my apartment because my feet and my calves were so sore and exhausted from the sheer amount of work that I was putting myself through. And I remember this very specific moment. I think it was after a really long day of work when I came home and I just collapsed on my floor and I just bawled. And I had this image of myself in my mind like being a juggler. Like I was juggling all of these things and I wasn't juggling it very well, and it's like they were all starting to fall on top of me and I was collapsing and I was just so freaking overwhelmed with all the things, and I knew I couldn't keep doing that, and I just kept craving balance. Balance, balance, balance. My higher self kept feeding this word to me every day. That's what I needed. I needed balance above everything else. Balance is what I was craving. It's what my life needed. And during that time period, I was literally doing the best that I could. I was rocking it as an independent woman, but I was crumbling under the pressure of everything that I was trying to do. Um, and so this really strong message to find balance was implanted in me. And that's kind of what my true north ended up being. I was seeking balance, and I just kept basically like honing in on balance. Like that was my intention, that was my focus for years and years. That's what I was working on. That's the life puzzle, if you will, that I personally was working to try and figure out how the hell you can possibly find balance in your life in the current state of today's world. Now, I did go on to move back to my home state of Hawaii, where I experienced a tremendous journey of healing and personal development and growth. And eventually, I took myself to India, where I lived for several months, putting myself through school. I left the traditional institutions of learning in America. I tried it out, and every fiber of my being said, no, this is not the way, this isn't right, this isn't doing what I need it to do. And I decided to leave that and pursue this path of healing that led me to India to study this ancient healing system known as Ayurveda. For any of you that don't know, that you're not familiar with Ayurveda, Ayurveda is the oldest healing science on the planet. It's much older than ancient Chinese medicine. It's thousands of years old, and from my own personal experience, I don't know of any other system of health, healing, or really understanding the human being, mind, body, and soul, and the way that we interface with the universe and the way that the elements all work together to create balance or imbalance. Ayurveda is the mother of healing, and that's what I went over there to learn. It was really incredible. There was so much to it. I went over and I downloaded years, literally years of teachings and wisdom and practices in a short amount of time, just a few months. It was really overwhelming to my consciousness, honestly. I barely could keep up with it, also because I was going through a devastating experience that I'm not going to go into right now, but needless to say, it was the most challenging experience of my life. That being said, I learned so much while I was over there. I learned literally how to treat every single piece of the body from head to toe. I learned such an enormous amount of different types of hands-on therapies and treatments for like almost every single ailment that you could possibly think of. We practiced on each other. I received a massive amount of treatments, which I will have to go into in a different video because my experience with the Ayurvedic healing treatments that I received changed my life and my body permanently forever. And this is what I went over there to learn, how to facilitate and give others. And in addition to that, we did like actual diagnoses on actual patients in Ayurvedic hospitals. There was a lot of herbology to it. We learned about all kinds of Ayurvedic plants. We actually got to go out into the wilderness and find them. I learned how to make medicines. It was incredible. We learned about disease. I learned like deeply the workings of the body, the way that everyone has a different body, and why one approach doesn't work for everyone. That's one of the amazing things about Ayurveda is it looks at each individual and it takes into account every single facet of their life, not just their diet or their exercise or whatever. Like it takes in every single piece of your entire life to figure out what the root cause is of whatever it is that you're suffering from. And that's one of my favorite pieces about Ayurveda, is because of the individuation of it. Now, I'm not giving those treatments. Occasionally, I will have the opportunity to do some hands-on therapies for someone, but I've personally been really enjoying teaching a lot of the wisdom that I learned over there to women to help them kind of treat themselves and treat their own imbalances. And so I wanted to talk to you guys today about balance and one specific Ayurvedic terminology, and that is Satva. Satva, S-A-T-V-A. If anybody has ever heard of this, let me know in the comments below. Also, hashtag replay if you're watching the replay. Satva, has anybody ever heard of that word? Hey, Jamie. Yay, it's so nice to see you in here. I'm excited to share more with you too. Okay, so Satva basically means pure. Satva means pure. And so without overwhelming you with too much Ayurvedic terminology, if you know anything about Ayurveda, most people that have heard of Ayurveda have also heard of the word dosha. Dosha is a series of 3 different categories that Ayurveda has put together with certain qualities, and they basically describe the different qualities that make up every single person. Every single person has all 3 doshas, but usually we're born with more of 1 or 2 of all 3 of them. And that's usually how we determine what your body type is, what your energetic fingerprint is that you were born with. So the term dosha is getting a little bit more well known. It's a little bit more common than what I'm talking about right now. But the reason that I brought that up is because there's 3 doshas, right? There's like 3 main categories of the energies that make up your physiology and also your mind. But what a lot of people don't know is that there are also 3 categories for the qualities of your mind. And these are called the gunas, the mahagunas in Ayurveda. We're strictly talking about the energy of the mind. And so I'm going to put it relatively simple for you to grasp the concept of the gunas right now. So I started this off with Sattva. Sattva means pure, and it is one of the gunas. It's one of the 3 gunas, and it is what I would consider like the middle ground guna. So when we're talking about the qualities of the mind, there's like the even keel middle ground, kind of like balanced quality, if you will, of Sattva. And then there's a stimulating quality and a quality that's like slowing, if you will. So there's like a speeding up and a slowing down and just a balance, okay? The 3 gunas are Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And so I wanted to talk to you about this today because it's possible to cultivate Sattva when you understand the 3 gunas of the mind. So let's talk about food, for instance, okay? I'll just give you some really obvious examples. So coffee. Coffee, you can just intuit what energy that's going to be. That's going to be the speeding up, the stirring up type of energy. Does that make sense? And let's say, oh, pizza's a really good one. Pizza's not an Ayurvedically sound food because it's improperly combined. I'm not going to go into that right now, but pizza usually doesn't like leave someone feeling super chipper and really energetic and like, clear-minded and just vibrant. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it tastes really good. It's one of the foods that I like to call food crack because it just hits those addictive receptors in your brain and your taste buds. But for the purpose of this presentation, those are the two examples that I'm going to give you to understand the different qualities that are working through your food. So in the same sense that eating a big old fat cheese pizza is going to probably make you feel lethargic and potentially give you brain fog and even make you feel a little depressed, the same way that coffee is going to potentially give you erratic energy, it's actually, in women, it usually creates quite an unstable field of energy in women. Things like caffeine and coffee. So those two, let's see if I can give you an example of a sattvic food. So sattvic foods are usually described as fresh, mild in flavor, pure, clean, and if they're cooked, it's very gently cooked. Like you wouldn't be frying something if you were making a sattvic meal. A sattvic meal could be, like a really beautifully well-made salad, for instance. Or if anybody knows khichdi, khichdi is a sattvic food. If you don't know what khichdi is and you're interested, I can share a recipe with you. I personally feel like it is the oldest recipe on the planet. It's really old. It's probably the most widely known recipe on the planet. It is the recipe that the ancient sages and yogis who downloaded the Vedas thousands of years ago, where Ayurveda and yoga comes from. By the way, Ayurveda is the sister science to yoga, in case you didn't know that. Anyways, khichdi is what those guys used when they went up to the caves to meditate and, like do their magic for months at a time. It was khichdi that they used. So the reason that I'm saying all of this is we're not taught how foods and, lifestyle activities, but mostly foods, we're not taught how foods affect us, especially in our minds. And so one of the things that I am always telling my clients is to eat the energy you wish to become. And I would love to give you that advice right now too. When you are sitting down, getting ready to eat something, put on this new lens of perspective and look at whatever you're about to eat in the lens of the energy of it. And ask yourself, is this energy that I want to experience in mind and body? Because when you eat something, you're literally going to experience it physically and mentally. And so the science of the Gunas is all about this concept of understanding what you're putting in your body and how that's affecting the terrain of your mind. I bet you guys didn't know, or at least not all of you, didn't know that you can eat certain foods to balance out whatever imbalance you're feeling. This is another one of the beautiful things that I love about Ayurveda. So basically, Satva is a way that you can eat for balance. So if you're feeling lethargic, depressed, low on energy, low on motivation, there's a way that you can eat to help counter that, to lessen the lethargy, the brain fog, the depression, and give you more energy. It's the same for the opposite side of the spectrum. If you're feeling really wound up, anxious, spacey, ungrounded, nervous, there's specific foods that you can eat to literally balance the energy inside of you. And so I'm gonna read just a few examples of signs of each one of these gunas, each one of these qualities of the mind. So signs and symptoms of a rajasic mind. If you have too much rajas in your system, these are some things that you might be experiencing. Difficulty falling asleep or waking up in the wee hours. Racing thoughts, an inability to sit still, workaholism, cravings for spicy food, alcohol, and stimulants. So rajas is that energy of speeding up, of stirring up, if you will. That's rajas. Tamas. These are the signs and symptoms of a tamasic mind. Hopelessness, brain fog, oversleeping, loss of appetite or cravings for fried or processed foods. Has anybody ever felt any of these qualities before? I know, I sure as heck have. All right, so that was tamas. And sattva, my favorite one. So here's some signs of a sattvic mind. An ability to concentrate as well as to calmly shift your attention. Self-confidence, sound sleep, healthy cravings, sustained energy, and emotional stability. Yeah, I think we could all do for a little bit more of sattva, don't you think? Oh, Joanna, hi. Oh, I love you too. Thanks, Trisha. Okay, you want to hear about the khichdi recipe? Awesome. Let me take a note of your name so I can write it down and get it over to you. Who here thinks that this is interesting? Because it's interesting to you guys because I freaking love this stuff. I'm like, this is what should be being taught in health class, right? Absolutely, Jamie. I'm so glad that you're in here and tuning in for this. Emily, Kitchery. Okay, so Ayurvedic words kind of like tend to swap out letters here and there, so it's spelled in a few different ways, but I'm pretty sure you could Google it under Kitri. Kitri. cheery. Um, yeah, so I just wanted to share a little bit about the Mahagunas with you ladies today and give you a little bit, just a little piece of, like a little gold nugget for you. Just share some of this awesome Eastern medicine with you ladies. And I wanted to share that I actually created a health coaching program for myself. I've been creating coaching programs for several years now, usually for other people, and I decided to create one for myself, and it was solely around Satva. It was doing all of the things, like I only ate sattvic for 2 months, and I incorporated a bunch of different lifestyle practices to cultivate sattva, because these gunas, you can heavily influence them through your food, but there's also different lifestyle habits that you can cultivate to create and sustain a sattvic state of mind and being in your body. And at the time when I created this for myself and I put myself through it, I felt freaking amazing by the end of it. Only in just 60 days, because I followed everything that I put forth for myself, which was basically kind of a detailed schedule for every day with all the recipes. And I felt like a freaking superhuman at the end of this program that I put together for myself. It was absolutely amazing. And I remember at that point feeling like, oh my gosh, this is really incredible. I wish that there was more people that were at the level that would be ready for this type of program. But I didn't think that there was people that were at that level that would be ready and willing to do this type of program. And I think that, just global ascension in general, but also COVID really has like shaken people's lives up and really made us all kind of open our eyes bigger. And I feel that there's a lot more beautiful beings that are actually really feeling ready to step up to the plate, to do the work to transform themselves. Let me know if you guys agree with me on that one. Do you think that there's more people that are ready to do the work to heal and transform themselves? And so on that note, I wanted to just throw this out there and ask if anybody that watches this would be interested in hearing more about this type of program, a 2-month program. Because if I get enough interest, I'm thinking about running a small group through this program that I originally created for myself. But I think that it's so powerful, and I think that human beings are incredibly resilient and strong, and there's more people that are really wanting to do the work to heal so that they can really reclaim their power and feel good and balanced in mind and body. Let me know if you guys agree with me, and let me know if you're interested in hearing more about me offering that as a group program. And like I said, if I get enough interest, then I will move forward with sharing more details about it. Ha ha ha. Da, 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 da. Jamie, love your energy, sweetie. Thank you for the excitement. Okay, I don't want to make this too long. I like to kind of keep these videos a little bit short and sweet so that they are easy to digest. So, Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Let me know how this landed for you. If you found it interesting, like I said, hashtag replay if you're watching the replay. If you want to hear more about this program, let me know. And I would love to take a group of ladies through this initiation of building a sattvic life for yourself. Um, and if you're interested in hearing more about what it would be like to work with me in a private mentorship, definitely follow the link in the comments. I will post after this video to book in for a call so that we can get on a call, have a heart-to-heart chat, see where you're at, see what you're wanting, see if I can help you, and if it feels like a right fit, then we can explore what one of my programs would potentially do for you. All right, beauties, thanks for tuning in. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Happy pink moon. I will see you guys next week. Aloha.